Manifest destiny and westward expansion are ideas that brought our nation many of its major cities and territories. One of these cities was St. Louis, Missouri. St. Louis has always kept this history of westward expansion very close to its heart, and even decided to build a monument to it called the St. Louis Arch. I traveled to St. Louis a few weeks ago and felt incredibly moved by the arch itself, the meaning behind it, and how it truly showed America's growth. The deep meaning behind the arch, the historic land that it was built on, and the unique construction of the arch are what make it one of America's greatest monuments. The arch was built on historically rich land. Thomas Jefferson bought this land that the arch and many other things were built on with the Louisiana Purchase. The Louisiana Purchase doubled the land in the United States and was the greatest decision made toward America's westward expansion in history. Missouri land also, especially St. Louis, took place for some of America's greatest explorers and progressors. Lewis and Clark, famous American explorers, were some of the first people ever to step foot in St. Louis. Also, the courthouse that sits just beside the St. Louis Arch held one of America's most famous cases, the Dred Scott case, where a slave attempted to get free. The arch, while built on historically deep land, also has very deep meaning. The arch has a very significant cultural meaning. The arch was built as a monument to the West. It signifies westward expansion throughout early American history, and it was built as a memorial to Thomas Jefferson and his ideas for expansion. The arch is also seen as a transition point. The arch is often called the gateway to the West, and is seen as the point where you transition from the East to the West in America. While the meaning of the arch is extremely beautiful, the outside almost rivals its beauty. There is no other structure in America that is like the St. Louis Arch. The St. Louis Arch stands 630 feet in the air, which makes it the tallest monument in the Western Hemisphere. It is also the largest display of a catenary curve in the world. A catenary curve is a very common curve used in architecture, yet the St. Louis Arch uses it in a way that it's never been used before. Building the arch also took many new techniques. The arch is built with triangular bases, distinct triangular bases that have not been seen in many other things around the world. To construct the arch, two triangular bases were placed on opposite sides of each other, and then smaller triangular bases were stacked on top until they met in the middle. The arch is supported with steel beams and concrete, but on the outside you see layers of carbon steel and stainless steel. All of these things make it look like something never before seen. To construct the arch, a good team of engineers and architects were needed. It took around 100 people to build and construct the St. Louis Arch, including engineers, architects, and construction workers, all working together to make the idea a reality. To everyone's surprise, no one died in the construction of the St. Louis Arch, which is especially surprising considering the loose safety regulations of the 1960s. In conclusion, the construction of the arch, the meaning of the arch, and the location of the arch are what make it such an amazing monument in America's history. I feel that it is important to remember Manifest Destiny and Westward Expansion and what those ideas have done for America's growth. And I think that the St. Louis Arch truly helps to remember all of those things. I would love to revisit the St. Louis Arch and learn even more about its history, and I believe that all of you should also visit and learn for yourselves. Thank you.